Welcome to Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermatch, and it is time for April 2024 update for the channel here. As always, we will start off with what I read in March. And I got a little uh, list of books here. I think I read six. Yeah, I think I read six books. First and foremost, I read this doozy. I finished reading this doozy here. Grand Conspiracy by Janie Wirtz. Most excellent novel that I really had a lot of fun discussing with all my friends on Page Chewing, and we're going to have a live discussion on this with the author Janie Wirtz on the 7th of April. That's tomorrow for my if from when I'm filming this. All right, and that book was outstanding once again. I also read a nonfiction book called Following Caesar by John Cahey, and this was a very interesting tale of like a travelogue um, of this historian going along Caesar's trails in Italy and northern Greece, Macedonia, and so that was pretty cool. It was good to get back into a little history vibe, nonfiction type thing, and so hopefully I'll do a little more of that as the year goes on here. Um, we also finished Authority by Jeff Vandermeer, book 2 in the Southern Reach trilogy. And that was a really interesting trip. We're talking about this book on, we did talk about this book on the podcast, Speculative Speculations. And so I'll put a link to that below. Let's check that out. We've been having a lot of fun reading that Southern Reach trilogy. And I also finished The Farthest Shore by Ursula K. Le Guin, book 3 in the Earthsea trilogy, the original one. And this was a fantastic read, very short, quick, and fun. Um, and it just caps off a very interesting, fantastical take on her world and what the various themes she brings to her writing. It's very, very rich, deep, and she does a lot within a little page in the little amount of pages in there. So, really like um, the Father Shore a lot. I also finished by Gene Wolfe, the fifth head of Cerberus. And this was a fantastic read. I really enjoyed the heck out of this one. So many levels that Wolfe puts into this collection of three novellas that all tie together integrally and very well done. And I really like what Wolfe did with this book. So I'm looking to forward to more Wolfe in the future. And I also finished Where the Body Was by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This was a neat little mystery puzzle box type of story, kind of a like figuring out who done it or what have you. And as you go through the book, there's a lot more of who done it, but also who done what, because there's a lot of other little storylines playing into the main one of just a body being on the street. So once again, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips pull off another cool tale with some great artwork and just actually this one was a little more fun based, I think, than some of their previous works, and it was a joy to read. So that's all the stuff I read in March, I think. Yeah, I got that. All right. So what am I reading right now? I am continuing on with my um, comparison of comics to prose with Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and that's going well. I'm actually enjoying reading the comic and then reading the associated prose in the book afterwards, and it's a unique experience. I got to tell you that. Um, I am also in the middle of the third book in the Southern Reach trilogy, Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer, and enjoying that a lot as we continue on dissecting certain sections of this book in our podcast, Speculative Speculations. So check that out. I'm also reading, as part of the Sci-Fi Masterworks collection, Gateway by Frederick Pohl. Um, so far, so good. I'm I don't know, over a third of through this this little science fiction book, and very interesting sci-fi idea about this lost civilization on Venus that left behind some ships for us to use, or anybody who shows up in Venus to use, and a lot of is a lot of like wonder and stuff about where those came from and what they are, and so it's very interesting how that gets approached by Pohl there. So I'm enjoying that. I am also reading Master of White Storm by Janie Wertz, and this is a standalone novel. I'm about halfway through it now, and I gotta say it's very sword and sorcery in style, which is really cool to see from Janie Wertz. But you also get, this was an early novel by her in 90, came out in 92, and you also get a really good idea of some of the concepts of magic that she later develops and brings forth in her epic of the Wars of Light and Shadow. And speaking of that, I have started Peril's Gates, the sixth book in the Wars of Light and Shadow, and gets off to a rip-roaring start in this book because it really just continues on from Grand Conspiracy, and the story just is flying at me right now. And I'm doing that as part of a read along on the page chewing with the page chewing guys, and that's just excellent, excellent, excellent literature, excellent story, and enjoying that a lot. So that's all the stuff I'm reading right now. I lied just there because I'm also reading Dust of Dreams by Stephen Erickson, Book 9 in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, as part of my ongoing Malazan reread. I'm taking my time with this one. I'm on sub book 2 in the book. I think I'm almost done with sub book 2 in the book in the so I'm like you know a little over a third of the way through it. I'm taking my time because I just really am enjoying it. I'm soaking it in. Um, I got to read it, other stuff in between chapters and stuff like that, but it's just so cool to reread this again and just get so much out of it. And so I'm thoroughly enjoying that. But with all this going on, I had to put this in here. So carrying on. One thing I did finish off last month was this beautiful package called The Savage Sword of Conan, '1 from Titan Comics. And I gotta tell you, I was so excited when I saw that they were repurposing the Savage Sword of Conan format. It's a magazine format. It's in black and white. It's beautiful, black and white artwork. Big dinosaur there. That's pretty cool. And the I really missed this magazine when back in the days when Marvel was doing it a long time ago. It really They have all different features here. You get the main story, um, and you got this just cool stuff, really cool stuff there. Yeah, and you also have a short story in here, a prose short story, which was really cool. And you get like the map of the world. You get pinups, standalone uh, artistic pictures. That's like a representation of the cover, and you also get a little story about Solomon Kane, one of Robert E. Howard's other properties, which was okay. I'm not a huge Solomon Kane fan, but it's a backup story, and so it's cool. But the main thing is Savage Sword of Conan is back, and I don't know how often they're going to be printing these things, but whenever they do, I'll be there for it because I was really happy with this package. It's a nice, thick magazine with tons of cool artwork and a cool story about our favorite sword and sorcery hero, Conan. All right. I also am reading a bunch of short stories um, on the podcast, Speculative Speculations. I keep mentioning that, but go check it out. We're also doing select short stories from the Big Book of Science Fiction, which is edited by Jeff and Ann Vandermeer. But it collects all these stories, and of course, we're going from front to back. So the stories we're reading right now out of there are really old ones from um, like 1890s to 19 aughts or 1913, teens, and they're very fascinating because uh, they're different. They're really different from the stuff that you read today, and they're really products of their time. And I'm finding I'm enjoying that, and just to see how people thought back then and their attitudes towards science and what it could be and how much things have changed since then and how much they haven't changed in some cases. So it's really cool reading those stories. I also read a short story out of Tales Before Tolkien, The Roots of Modern Fantasy. This is edited by Douglas Anderson. He's the same guy who did the annotated Hobbit. And the story I read in here was called Puss Cat Mew. And it sounds silly, um, but it was really interesting. This was like it wasn't that short actually. It was like almost 50 pages of, oh no, 40 pages of story in here. And it's really neat because you get to see this thing was published in 1869, and the you get to see once again it's a as typical in these type of fantasy stories from the 19th century. It's a portal type fantasy where somebody's walking through the woods and suddenly they're in fairyland. And but this one was interesting in that the fairies were the good guys and the bad guys were ogres and dwarves. And you get this sense that the dwarves were the little evil. They were impish almost um, and they were cruel, and they wanted to eat brains. So it was very interesting to get that take on dwarves from the 19th century, considering what they later turned into in Tolkien's tale. They were more of a noble race, and so it's just very fascinating to see that contrast of what dwarves were thought of then. And the dwarves in Norse mythology weren't the best uh, behaved creatures in the world either. So I think this tale, which was written by what was his name? This tale, I think he took that idea of the dwarfs from Norse mythology and just played upon it. It just made dwarves that much more nastier. And it was by E.H. Natchbull Hugginson. I think he's German. Um, and so it was pretty cool. And there's a little precursor of what could become Ents, in that story as well. Very neat, very neat. And I also read a little short story out of this beautiful edition here of Chinese myths and folk tales. It's like a Barnes and Noble edition, but I love all that the feel of this. Yeah, oh, it's just beautiful. Uh, and this the story I read in here was called "The Talking Pupils," and I was like, oh, okay. What's wrong with? And of course, it was interesting because the pupils that are talking him were actually his own eyes, the pupils in his eyes, and it was it was kind of weird. But very short, these things, and I'm just gonna read one of these every once in a while just to amuse myself. So very very cool. So that's all the odd stuff that I read and was reading. I'll continue on in some of the short story collections that I have. And so, uh, what is on the future agenda? I got a lot to read. I got a lot to finish off, and I'm definitely going to get on top of that stuff. But in the news here, I went to IFCA down in Florida. That is the International Conference for the Fantastic in the Arts, um, and put on by the International Association for the Fantastic in the Arts. And really didn't know what to expect when I went down there. I just knew that I signed up for it. It was something I wanted to, kind of kick off my bucket list of things to do in life. And so I went down there. And even though there was some initial like wariness on my part about like what am I doing here? How would I fit in? But everybody there was so nice and so kind, and all you had to do was ask a little question, and they would just direct you to wherever you wanted to go. And so it was fun. Um, I met up with AP Canavan from the Critical Dragon. Had a great time. He was so cool, and I also met up with some of my favorite authors down there, and that was just a blast. Um, just hanging out with them for a little bit, and so great time to be had. If you haven't been there, it's really cool. The seminars they put on are fantastic, very knowledgeable people talking about subjects that they love and that they really just want to pass on all this knowledge. And if you like soaking up knowledge as much as or more than I do, then that is the place to go. It's really, really cool. And one of the coolest things they had there was their own little bookstore book room, where they sell books and they sell them at a very discounted prices, and they're very cool because a lot of them are signed. So I don't know if I don't do book hauls, but um, this is a special case, I think, right? So I picked up because I heard such great things about it. I heard this historical fiction book called Spear by Nicola Griffith, and this was in the bookstore. And this is an uncorrected proof, not for sale. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I heard a lot about this. I know Raf at Raf Blue Text did a interview with the author on his channel, so I will be reading this at some point so that I can check that out. I also picked up a volume of ElfQuest, The Blood of Ten Chiefs. Uh, I remember this from way back when I used to read ElfQuest in the 80s and 90s, and I never got around to reading the stories. Or did I? I don't remember. So I picked it up because there's a lot of great authors in here, besides Richard Pinney and Wendy Pinney, who created ElfQuest, um, and there's also Lynn Abbey in here. There's Piers Anthony, Robert Aspirin, C.J. Cherry, um, and Janie Wirtz also has a story in here. So I definitely had to pick this up, and there's other ones too. But it was cool and such a great deal. They're only like $4 or $5 a piece, so it was pretty cool. Um, some free stuff I got just for signing up for the conference was a copy of Asimov's science fiction magazine. So that's pretty cool. And I also got The Line Between, some short stories by Peter S. Beagle. And I heard a lot about this guy too. I haven't read him yet, so I want to get to those as well. That could be once more part of my short story stuff going on. All right. Also, I got this little gem here. This is The Man Who Risked His Partner, a detective story or a crime novel by Stephen R. Donaldson, one of my favorite authors of all time. It Advance Uncorrected Proof. It doesn't even have a real cover. And I thought that was fascinating. And so this is signed by Mr. Donaldson. Yeah. And so it's very cool. I haven't read his detective fiction yet. It's the only thing I haven't read by him. I read everything else. So I am looking forward to that. And speaking about some signed books by favorite authors, I picked up To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janie Wirtz. So I'm looking forward to getting to this someday. This is bigger than I thought. This is a big, big story. It's a big, hefty book. I like it. It's really cool. Um, and I also got the next book after Peril's Gate in The Wars of Light and Shadow, Traitors Not, by Janie Wirtz, and that's really cool. Looking forward to that. This is probably one of the best editions I have of her stuff. So really, really looking good. Looking forward to that. That's what I picked up, and I also picked up another favorite author of mine, Stephen Erickson's The Devil Delivered in Other Tales. So a nice little short story collection by Mr. Erickson that I am greatly looking forward to. Um, and this one came out in 2012, but the stories are from much earlier, like 2005, 2008. So looking forward to that as well. There's only actually 3 stories in there, so they're not that short, but pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So that was all the stuff that I bought down there at the conference, and yeah, once again, had a great time down there. It was really cool, really cool. Just a big thank you to everybody who was so nice to me at that conference and made that time really made that event a really special thing for me. So appreciate that a lot. All right. So as you can see, I have a whole bunch of reading to do, thankfully, and I am planning on getting to that. So that is the update for now. Please let me know what you're up to too, and be good to each other. Thank you.